What's up everyone, DJ here at Top Deck Cards and Games doing another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. This is probably the last thing I'm going to do before we start adding Dual Overload cards in, but I had this built. It's pretty standard, but it's an awesome deck, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit one time before we move on to the next set. So today we're going to talk about True King Dinosaurs. A deck that was around for a really long time in the past, or maybe not that long, depending on how you look at it, but it was a deck a long time ago. And it finally came back into the meta a bit with them unbanning the Earth True King, Lithosogem. This card is awesome. I've played it a bunch in like True King Zodiac decks and stuff like that. It's a fun combo card to play with. It ends up working in broken ways a ton of stuff. So it's really sweet to play with. And this deck hasn't really gotten any specific new cards, though it is playing some newer editions with Lightning Storm, and not the Pot of Extravagance is brand new, but the last time the deck was around it wasn't. So one of the cool things about this deck, and actually I think the coolest thing about this deck, is that it is a dedicated going second deck. We're maining full copies of Lightning Storm, evenly matched, Mind Control. We're even playing like a Mystic Mind so that we can go second and just break apart our opponent's board and deal with whatever they put out there. So just to get into the list, first we've got our Dinosaur Monsters. We got 3 Soul Eating Oviraptors. This card is kind of the glue that holds the deck together. It's a Rhoda, or a Stratos rather, for dinosaurs. When you normal summon it, you can grab a dinosaur from your deck and put it into your hand. Or you can use it as a Foolish Burial if the situation requires it. So it's like an Armageddonite / Stratos. We know how good both of those cards are in their respective decks. And this guy's got even more text on top of that. It also lets you destroy a dinosaur on your board to special summon one from your graveyard. I think they both have to be level 4 or lower. And this lets you do insane plays using the babies. So definitely a really important card in the deck. We've got this plus our Fossil Digs to search it. It's also going to search Miscellaneousaurus a lot of the time. This card went to 3. I don't know if it was this past list or the list before. I know this card got hit a long time ago, and I was actually, whenever it went to 3, I remember telling somebody it could go to 39 and I wouldn't care because it's just not that big of a deal. This deck did end up being better than I thought it would be, but I kind of stand by that statement, I guess. It doesn't really matter that it's at 3, but it's really important here because we need fires for our True Kings. Not actually that insane of a card. We're going to use it to summon Alio most of the time, but it does do other stuff if you would need it to, depending on the situation. And it helps protect your cards from your opponent's card effects with its pitch effect. We've got 4 babies. These let us special summon and make our combo plays. I think 4 is the right number. I don't want to get greedy and play 5, but I think you want the 4th one just because sometimes your plays will call for it. A little bit of a dinosaur toolbox down here. We've got a copy of Pankratops, a copy of Dogoron, and a copy of Giant Rex. These are all useful in different situations. Dogoron and Pankratops especially give us the ability to interact with our opponents and clear their board out. Giant Rex is a combo piece, and we've got the ALO as well to go with that Miscellaneousaurus so that we can make Trish into VFD plays, which are really good. Those cards are both really strong. 2 copies of Ultimate Conductor Tyranno fill out the dinosaur lineup. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is a monster, 3,500 attack. It flips our opponent's cards face down, so it's disruptive. It can attack all of their stuff. It does 1,000 for each one. Is that the right number? Yeah. It just pushes a ton of damage and is disruptive. This card does everything we could ask for. I think 2 is good. 3's bricky. You could even convince me to play 1, but I like the 2. Then we've got 4 True Kings. We need to play the full set of Fire True King, Agnimizid every time. I use Fire True King, let's be real. We've got a decent number of targets for it with the 3 Miscellaneousaurus, the Dogoron, and if we draw the Aeolo. We're hoping to pop Miscellaneousaurus with this usually, plus like a baby or something else. On rare situations, if you draw multiple copies of itself plus something like that, you could use the pop effect as well for destroying 2 fire monsters. And then we have the 1 copy of Lithosogem because we're allowed to play 1 copy of it. This one's just easier to work with. It's less restrictive because we can always just pop our babies and make our plays that way. Onto our spells. First off, we've got 3 Pot of Extravagance. Extravagance is like sick in this deck because it really doesn't matter what we hit from our extra deck. I mentioned that we're trying to do Trish into True King of All Calamities plays. So we're playing 3 of each of those, so we're not too injured by the pot depending on what happens. We've also got 2 copies of Dolka because that's the most common rank 4 we're going to make. But, I mean, you can function without a lot of these cards. So it's just a matter of, tailoring your game plan around what we have left after you play it. 3 Fossil Digs, our other consistency card. This lets us find our Overraptor. If we already have that, it finds extra copies of babies or, maybe a Giant Rex or Miscellaneousaurus, whatever we might need. Just so that we can make sure our plays go off. It finds us whatever we need, though, so definitely a staple 3 of. 3 copies of Lightning Storm to go with 3 evenly matched. I probably should have grouped these together, but I left it sorted by Monster Spell Trap. The 6 of these let us go second, which, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the things I really like about this deck. We get to go blind second, so the die roll doesn't matter, and I love any situation I get where I can take the variance out of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, there's only so much you can do to control every game and every outcome. I mean, being able to not complain about the die roll as much is nice. I mean, nobody really wants to hear your bad beat stories about the die roll, so it's nice to take that out of the equation. So having 6 of these so that when we go second, whether it's against a combo deck, a back row deck, whatever, we can really clear their stuff out. Makes this deck really resilient and powerful in a lot of different matchups. We also have 2 mind controls using the same kind of logic. This card's just really good going second. It lets us pick our opponent's board apart, forces negates, does just all the things we could ask for. Finally, we've got our field spell package. I've got 2 Lost World, a Diagram, and a Mystic Mine. Diagram, I think, is the best field spell in the deck by a fairly wide margin. It is limited, so we can only play the 1 copy, and we've got the set rotation and the terraforming to find it. Lost World can be really powerful, just protecting your board or letting you make some interesting plays with the token if need be. But I don't think it needs to be a 3 of. I know some people have played the full 3 copies. I just don't think that's necessary. And then we've got a copy of Mystic Mine to, again, help with going second. We're going to be able to play that to stun our opponent's board if the situation calls for it. Mystic Mine is a very powerful and frustrating card. I'm sure you all have had your encounters with it and don't love what it does to the game, but it is really good anytime you're going second, and we're choosing that every time here, so it's great. Not too much extra to say about these. We've already touched on them, but I mean, being able to find our diagram is great, and having the toolbox of finding Mine or Lost World is also fantastic. Onto the sideboard, first off, I've got 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice. This deck is just brick dead to an Abyss Dweller on the opponent's board, so we're playing 3 of those. People have wised up. They gun their Dwellers now. Like, you can't play Dark Roller no more, and hope that your opponent doesn't activate their Dweller right away, because people are kind of wise to that. They're just going to Dweller you, so you don't get that opportunity. So we've got 3 Chalices to stop those against decks that are going to prioritize making that Dweller. 3 copies of Sanctum and a Scythe for matchups where we're told to go first. A lot of decks can't do anything if you do this, so it's worth pivoting out of some of your evenly matched, etc. when you're forced to go first against some decks to bring those in. 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. Just the strongest hand trap against a lot of different decks. We're able to stop their plays, break their board up that way, and we can handle whatever's left using the normal engine of the deck like we talked about already. So just a powerful card to have. 3 Cosmic Cyclones. We need some more back row destruction. I think this is the best one to go with since it gets around various different destruction preventions, or if we need to banish a card instead of putting it into the graveyard, against different pendulum strategies, etc. So I think this card's really good, and we also have a red reboot to help us push through those back row decks, to go along with our Lightning Storms, evenly matched, and the Cyclones. Then I side a second copy of Dogron. It's just good in some matchups. I'm not against having the second one in the deck, but I wanted to keep the main to a crisp 40. I know a lot of people play more than 40 in here, but I mean, come on, guys. Why would we play more than 40 if we don't have to? So I'm pretty locked in on just maining the one and siding the second. Extra deck, Synchros, we've got 3 Trishes. Touched on this already, but the VFD play, True King of All Calamities play is 6, so, let's play some Trishes, and this card is awesome too, obviously. For the Link monsters, I'm set on Nightmare Phoenix and Hida. These cards are both really strong. Nightmare Phoenix is just good utility to have. We're able to pick apart our opponent's back rows. It's a fire. I believe this can destroy on the field as well, right? Yeah. So if we need to, we can link into this to turn on the Fire True King. Hida just Similarly, it's a fire. It's got a lot of value in different matchups, just specialing things from our opponent's graveyard. Then I have a Pentas Dagon here. I saw this in Scott Page's list from Vegas, and I wanted to try it. I think it's really cool tech. I'm sure other people have played it too. That's just where I saw it first. And your linked monsters to it do piercing damage, trample damage, so they deal damage over defense. And I think that's a way to create a lot of game states where you can just kill your opponent out of nowhere in this deck. Could also be Boral Sword in that spot. I wanted that to be a link that was dedicated to OTKing my opponent, but I decided to go with the Pentas Dag because it's just easier to make, and I could envision a lot of situations where this was a really powerful effect. True King of All Calamities, 2 copies of Dolka. This card is just great, obviously. It stops hand traps. I mean, it's really good at protecting your board since it's able to negate your opponent's monsters. Just really versatile and powerful card. We've also got a copy of Lagia for when negating spell or traps is going to be more important. Then Dweller, Exiton, and number 60, Duragress the Timeless. I was not familiar with this card before I saw some other lists for this deck, so if you haven't read this thing, it's really sick. You get to attach 2 materials and do one of the effects, skip your next draw phase, draw 2, discard 1, skip your next main phase, special summon a monster from your graveyard, or skip your next battle phase, double the attack of one of your monsters. All of those effects are sick. I mean, you're planning on ending the game the turn you make it most of the time, so you're not going to take any drawbacks of these abilities. I think this is just such a sweet card. Like, I can't get over this one, actually. I've read this for the first time when I first built this deck and thought, wow, how did I miss this one? Because I just didn't notice it. But, I mean, it's fairly commonplace in the deck, so it's not like I'm telling you guys anything you probably don't know already about him. But that's the list I was going with for the True King Dinos. I think this deck is awesome. It's a shame that these Lightning Storms are kind of pricey because this would be a deck that wasn't too bad. I guess the pots as well, because most of it was like just the starter deck cards and the True King cards. But I mean, it is an awesome deck. If you have the spells, it's definitely worth playing. It's good against a lot of the field, and it takes the Dire out of the equation. So I think it's a sick deck to play with. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you have any tweaks you'd like to make to the list, what you think. And let me know what you guys are interested in from Dual Overload, what decks you think are going to be good there, or what cards you want to talk about. I'm going to definitely make some content with that soon. I have to decide what I want to make and where to start. So a lot to explore and a lot of stuff to mess with. I'm really excited to see where we get with all that. Thanks a ton for watching, guys. Make sure you click that subscribe button. We've got a ton more content coming soon for you guys. Definitely going to focus on doing Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is unfortunate that my computer wanted to restart now. But definitely going to focus on doing more Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff as we go now, especially with another new set coming out just this next week. So stay tuned. We've got a lot more coming. Thanks a ton, guys.